You're listening to the After the Show movie podcast brought to you by ascully.com. And here are your hosts, A Scully and Sid Talk. Good afternoon, Sid Talk.
Good afternoon. I suppose it's afternoon somewhere.
I'm in love with my car.
I was just going to say, I'm in love with my car. A song I didn't even know existed.
Grease my piston.
Yeah. Does everyone know that's a Queen song? Probably. Queen people know. I did not know.
Yeah, I'm in love with my car by Roger Taylor.
Nice.
All right, so what is the before, the after the show discussion before we...
This movie.
It was.
Pretty much.
Mostly.
Queen details about the people and the songs and the, as you're going to describe later, the people who didn't like this movie.
Yeah.
In your lovely reviewer's voice. Critics' voice. That's the critics. That's what they sound like.
All right, so it is Saturday, February the 23rd. This is after the show.
February 23rd?
Yeah.
It is not.
Is it not?
No.
Why did I put that?
February 16th.
Well, I've got a week back. Perfect.
It was just Valentine's Day 2 days ago.
Perfect. All right, let's rewind the time.
If you said that and people were listening, they'd be like, what? What? Did I sleep for a whole week?
Let's rewind time a little bit to Saturday, February the 16th.
That's better. That's better.
This is After the Show, movie podcast number 570. We're looking at the movie Bohemian Rhapsody. It's a 2018 movie released on Blu-ray and 4K. You can pick it up right now. It's rated PG-13. It is nominated for Best Actor in a Supporting Role and Best Picture at the Oscars next week. We'll find out next week.
I thought it was nominated for like 5.
It's also nominated for, what were the other things I said? Sound design, sound mixing. I think it's 4. And it is from our friends at Fox who sent us a copy over for review. Sid Talk, give us the synopsis of Bohemian Rhapsody.
Do I really have to? If you don't know what the song Bohemian Rhapsody is who by whom?
Mamma Mia, Mamma Mia.
Yeah, it's Queen. It's a bit of a fictionalized biopic of a slice of the life of Freddie Mercury as he is in the band Queen. I mean, come on. If you don't know that, why are you listening to this podcast?
Well, am I a fan of Queen, would you say?
Yeah.
Always have been.
I'd say one of your number one favorite songs of all time.
Don't Stop Me Now.
Don't Stop Me Now.
I'm having such a good time.
Copyright for that. I don't think so. I've done it poorly enough. They shouldn't care.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm a fan of Queen. Are you a fan of Queen?
Yes. I mean, I'm not the hardcore type who would nitpick this movie apart, but I can say that when I listen to the lyrics, I'm like, oh, or some of those beginnings of some of those songs, they just get you.
Okay. I'm
a superficial music lover. I will admit it. I'm not I don't understand music theory and all that jazz. Or jazz.
You don't understand jazz either?
I don't really like jazz, so I'm not a connoisseur. I'm a feeler of music, I like to feel it. And I really feel it when I listen to Queen. I've
always liked Queen. Are they quite different to other rock bands? They just have their own... You don't really hear other bands that sound like them.
I disagree with you, because as the superficial listener, to me, they just blend with all the others 80s, late 70s kind of stuff.
Well, you need your ears checking.
Or my brain, one of those.
So I've always did like that. They're just... Go and listen to like Night at the Opera album. It's just crazy. They're just very different. I've always liked that. Sometimes they're kind of poppy, sometimes they're kind of disco-y, sometimes they're really heavy rock. But I've always been a fan. So I was excited to see a biopic of Freddie Mercury. And what I can say to you is this is my opinion of this one. I really, really enjoyed it. Like I don't know, I was sad like half the time.
Yep. All the time.
And there was parts where I'm like, why am I sad? This is like I'm watching like them do a performance. Like he's singing like Killer Queen or something in the middle. And I'm thinking, oh, Freddie's dead now. Like, spoilers. I just felt sad like a lot of the time. The way it's fairly, the way it's framed and the way it's made is pretty crowd pleasing, wouldn't you say?
Definitely.
It doesn't delve too deep into darkness or, like The Doors does, like other biopics. It's more kind of a celebration of Queen. And yes, there is some, it doesn't really focus on it though, does it? Like any of the darkness.
No, it doesn't focus on it. To me, it's a movie about a person and then him finding these people. And then they make a band, but about not like being the other, it's very clear that he's not like the other people. They make it clear. Now, I didn't know him in real life, but I mean, you can watch videos and interviews and all kinds of stuff, and you can see he's that guy. He's the guy over there who's just out there. And that in almost every society, whatever reason, we try to grab those people and like squeeze them and shove them into a freaking box and be like, no. This is what you need to be. And if you're not, something's wrong with you. And I feel like this is like a person who didn't even have a choice, but to just be like, fuck it. I just have to wear the crazy outfits, be the person who says, sing myself to get into this band, whatever. That's what it's about to me. And then this group of people who, the way they portray it, while they have their fights and arguments, there is a very protective coating around him with them. Like, we get him. We totally get him. And that's also hard to find in the world when you're that person.
Oh, yeah, because the band never go like, oh, Freddie, you're just being too weird. They're always like, no, Freddie, that's really cool. I like that.
They'll comment on things, at least in the movie. Like, again, in real life, we don't know because we're not around them. But they seem to, even the real guys now, have lots of love for him. And you would after the fact when someone dies. But I do believe that's a thing where you saw this thing in this person. And we probably all know a person like this. And some of us hate them because they make us nervous and they're unpredictable. And they don't follow the rules. And they're too loud or they're too weird. We all know that person. Or some of us embrace them and like you're a shining beacon of light in a world of nothing, of boring fucking people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And to have a person find his place to be the front of that band at that time and do what they did, that's what it's about to me. And how a person can be huge on the outside. Like the guy who struts on the stage and wears the crazy outfit and demands attention. But then, as portrayed in the movie, is home alone with his cats because that part of him is like the biggest part of him. And being alone, like he even says in the movie, there's a line about, the in-between moments I can't handle.
Yeah.
I can't handle them. That's why I have to do this. And I think, to me, that's what it was all about. So every scene that focused on a quiet moment of him taking a deep breath or looking close into the eyes of somebody or examining somebody, like, okay, I get you. You get me. We're good. And then him going off and strutting and doing something else. So to me, it wasn't about music or this band particularly, but that group of people and how human it felt to me. Not sappy, but just very human.
Yeah.
And just on a side note, it's been nominated for 5 Academy Awards. Best Picture, Performance by an Actor, Achievement in Film Editing, Sound Editing, and Sound Mixing.
Oh, editing was the one I missed.
Which we always get a little confused about, the difference between the sound mixing and the sound editing. But it did sound really good. I mean, the looping could have been better, but still.
Yeah, but the actual performances in this movie, if you listen to them in surround sound, it's like you're in the middle of a concert.
Yeah, it's
especially
really good.
The Live Aid part. It's really, really interesting. There's lots of musical performances in this. It's not Rami Malek, who plays Freddie Mercury, is not singing, even though he is singing, right? But they don't use his voice. That's what the lady said.
Oh, is it? Okay.
The lady said he sings to the track, but then they remove his voice because obviously he's not Freddie Mercury. And if you don't sing, it looks like you're miming. It looks like you're lip syncing. So
I thought they used his voice and they just made him sing while they were shooting as well.
He sang that's what I'm saying. He sang, but they didn't use his voice.
Whose voice did they use?
They used the original masters from Queen.
Really?
Yeah. So basically his lip syncing, but also performance syncing because he's doing all the moves, isn't he? He's doing, so, and it's quite impressive to look at. I said to you, I have seen the Live Aid performance of Queen a lot of times.
Plus today, because we had
we watched it again. Yeah. And you haven't really seen the Live Aid performance of them? Maybe you've seen clips from it.
I don't think so.
So afterwards, I put it on and we watched it. And what do you think of the job they did of recreating it?
I mean, it's got the entire vibe and his attention to detail with his individual body movements. I mean, I wouldn't say you wouldn't know the difference because you can tell the difference. They're a different body type completely. But
yeah, totally, yeah. And they don't look the same, really. His
heart and soul that he puts into it, to me, totally captured it. And all of them, each band member, the same.
Yeah, the bass player, John Deacon, we looked at him on the Live Aid performance, and then we looked at him on the movie. And when it's from a distance, I don't think you can tell the difference.
That one I was like, whoa, that's so similar. Like that's crazy.
It's just because of the clothes, the very specific shape of the clothes, the hair that he has, and the movements he does. It's just, I was very impressed with the performance. I really liked how I think it's the last 20 minutes actually, is just the giant Live Aid performance. And it really lifts you up, doesn't it? Spirits wise.
Absolutely.
Like it just, there's something about it. It's like electric going on. I said to you, like, I felt like crying like a lot. And I don't know why. There was some times where I was like, they're just playing a song by Queen. Why do I feel emotional now? Like
I cried.
Yeah, I know.
Throughout like most of it.
Yeah, and it's hard to say why sometimes, though. Like,
because I just felt like it was so human. It's like everyone's so divisive, and this is like not even about his struggles necessarily up against people giving him a hard time for being gay or for being effeminate or being weird or whatever. They didn't really focus on any of that. But it more pointed out the internal struggle of a person who knows they're not allowed to belong.
No. Yeah, and he did not ever,
unless you're like the front man of a very famous band, right?
And then you just
it's like, he's awesome. Yeah. But even then, that's why it got to me a lot. It's just this person who can't help but be himself, but the world doesn't really want him to be that guy, like sitting in the living room on his own.
Yeah, those parts were
Freddie Mercury's like fictional. I mean, he is actually, because that's not his real name. That's not how he was brought up. But he invented Freddie Mercury.
That's his stage persona,
yeah.
Right?
But that's the bigger part of him that he knows he can't be that at the dinner table with his parents. He can't be that when he's just sitting talking with a friend because he doesn't feel like he fits anywhere else. So that's why I was always on the edge of just like, it's just so sad. What the fuck is wrong with us? Why can't we just let people... Unless you're going to harm someone, always note that I have that caveat. Not a person who wants to kill anyone or harm anyone or sexually abuse anyone. None of that shit. I'm talking about if I want to wear a bustle and an 1855 dress to work, why do you care? Why not just be like, that's just normal? Yeah. I've never understood because I'm the person who's just like, I don't understand why you care if my hair is pink or if I have a tattoo on my face. It actually makes no sense when you think about it. If we're surviving in the world and we're just living, why do you care if Freddie Mercury wears like a crazy leather outfit and prances around? Like, that's just him, and can't that be fine? That's why it gets so emotional, because I'm like, that's what you're really dealing with here. And sadly, I think. But he's also inspirational, because he just did it, you know?
Yeah, he didn't seem... I've watched lots of real-life interviews with him, too. He never seemed to give a shit, really, about what people think.
Right.
And I've seen interviews where he's been very boisterous with the person because the person's not being very nice, and he's like, no, I'm not going to be nice either then. Fuck
exactly.
You know? So he just seemed
judgmental pricks is what it looked like he got a lot of.
Yeah, that interview where he says, I'm a... prostitute, musical prostitute. He really did say that. I've seen that interview before. like that's how he sees himself, like, you know.
Because music was like in his veins, and so he's selling that. So yeah, that sounds like, you know.
Yeah, so yeah, I really like the way the film was put together. Now, this film went through there's 2 directors attached to this movie first.
Directorial controversy. That's what we call it.
So, director of the movie, Bryan Singer, dropped out of the movie sort of in the middle of it, and then director, Dexter Fletcher, came in and finished it up. So it had some, you know, trouble that way. Some people I was reading reviews of said that they can tell that it's disjointed because of that. But I don't feel like it feels like 2 people made it, personally.
I agree, but then if I watched it again, this time I was just watching it, you know, to like enjoy it. But if I were to note, because as we did learn in the extras, they did the scene of Live Aid first.
Right.
And then everything else is different. But then that is very different than the other scenes anyway, because the rest of it is, you know, character building and laying out the story, and that part is very specifically Live Aid, so it should be different. Yeah, exactly. So I don't know if I'd notice. I think people, when you know something, it sort of
they put it onto it. Like,
it confirms your bias, where you're already like, oh, it's going to be shit. Oh yeah, well it is, you know, that kind of thing.
So I thoroughly enjoyed it, start to finish. I thought it was really fun. I obviously am biased to the music because I like all the music. I thought that it never goes too serious, I don't think. Apart
it's just
from
sad.
Sad, yeah, definitely sad. But never, it doesn't get overly dramatic. It's more kind of straightforward. It moves very quick as well. It jumps between time period. Like, it doesn't jump back and forth, but it goes forward very quickly, right?
And it doesn't focus in a heavy way like, what's that movie with McConaughey? It doesn't focus heavily on the illness of having AIDS. It doesn't, like, weigh it down with, you know, we all know the darkness and the sadness of that entire epidemic, and it still goes on in the world, but it doesn't really pull at you in that direction, or in the direction of him being the outsider, or even like his jerky guy who's kind of like trying to pull him away, or drug addiction or anything. It doesn't really.
I mean, it lightly touches on that stuff.
Yeah, none of those things have a big weight tied to them where you go, oh, here we go. We're going down the darkness now. Like, it just sort of, I don't know, it stays afloat with him. And all these other things sort of just like tag along.
Yeah, even like the first, when he's at the truck stop and he's on the phone to Mary, and he's just talking to her, and he sees like a trucker going into the thing, and it's where he's first going, oh, I think I like men as well, right? It's where he's really.
But it's not spoken. It's not spoken. It's just.
No, it's just a visual. Yeah. And it's brief, and then you get the idea quickly and go, okay.
That he's exploring options.
Right. And even when it doesn't go into like drug taking in a big way, like if you're not paying attention, you won't really know that he was doing drugs, because you see him take a pill in the back of the car. And then when he turns up to sing with Queen, they say, you're high again. And it's really quick and like breezed by.
There's cocaine on the tables at the parties and all that kind of stuff.
So you just have to like, you know, it's not like The Doors, like I say. It's not like super focusing on the dark, even though it is just there around the edges. It's more kind of upbeat and a celebration of the music. Is there anything you disliked about it?
Just the looping, I thought was kind of poor at times. The sound of a lot of the voices, they weren't mismatching or anything to their lip. Looping is when they do all the sound recording on the set, they do all their parts, but then they go back in the studio in a closed set and re-record the audio, and then lay it over the top, like on a day when the sound wasn't great, or on the set, they have a microphone so close to them, and then another microphone. They have two different things. So one's super close, so that it's not really picking up ambient anything. Right. So then when you're listening to some of these scenes...
Sounds like somebody in a booth saying something.
The voice is sort of... It's like when you're looking at a picture and you can tell some part has been pasted in because it doesn't have the right contrast or the right shade on it. So this is like, there were times I was like, oh my God, can we not just...
But it's not always like that.
No. The times when you feel like it's just them using the live sound are the best. It's the ones where they're piling it on top. I didn't
Maybe
like.
that's to do with switching directors and all that kind of stuff. Maybe one
Don't know.
You know? But yeah, there definitely is looping. But I mean...
As far as the movie, no. Everything, I really, really enjoyed it. I was just sad from the very minute it started. Of course, there's another bias because I know his end.
One little cool touch is the 20th Century Fox logo at the beginning has Brian May playing it is Brian May playing it as well.
Nice.
He did it. Brian May and Roger Taylor are involved in this movie. They're actually in the movie as well. You'll see them.
And they're on the set. Like, it looks like a lot.
Yeah, so... It's not like an unofficial movie that Queen had no say in.
In fact, as you know, it's like you said, Sacha Baron Cohen had...
Yeah, that was another story.
Had he written?
He'd written. There's a script of his version.
Right, so he wrote his own and he was going to be Freddie Mercury. They did not like it, therefore, didn't get made.
Right. And, you know, again, I think Sacha Baron Cohen could have done a good Freddie Mercury. I do think we've seen Sacha Baron Cohen do more serious characters when he's not doing Borat and stuff. Like in Sweeney Todd, for instance. I think Sacha Baron Cohen could have probably pulled this off as well. But I think his version was very dark.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's what they wanted. Maybe someday he'll get to make that.
Let's just leave this one. We don't need more. This is good.
But it's been through some problems, this movie. It's been through revisions and...
Directors.
Yeah. And it was
to
always...
me, it felt pretty cohesive.
Well, it was always down to Queen liking what they saw. They didn't like that. So it was down to them. Basically, they was always in the loop on it. So moving on to the cast, Rami Malek plays Freddie Mercury. At first, I was like, I'm not that familiar with him anyway. Do you know him? Have you watched him in anything?
No, we never watched Mr. Robot.
No. So I was watching the beginning and I was like, is this like... I'm not sure about this performance, like with his big teeth in and his very distinct accent that he's doing. And I wasn't sure about it just right at the beginning when he goes
and then let me guess. Then after a while, you didn't even realize that you were totally into it. Like you didn't even notice when all of a sudden you're like, oh yeah, he's Freddie Mercury.
When he started singing the first time.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay, I get it. But when he was talking to his dad and his mum at the beginning and he was leaving, I'm going out with my friends and that kind of thing, I was like, oh, I don't know about that. But I quickly got to like it. And do you know what? After watching the Live Aid performance at the end, I think he's really in it. Like,
I agree.
It's like he was living the guy. Like everything that he's learned, and I was reading about him, he wasn't actually a Queen fan. And before this movie...
It's probably good, actually.
Right, so you don't have all the
And you're not seeing him as like a god of rock and roll or anything until you start digging and kind of make up your own version of what you like about him. That's
and
good.
He went and did a ton of research, and then when you watch this Live Aid performance, just watch them back to back. Watch either way. Watch the real Freddie one and then watch this one, or the other way. And you will see the kind of effort they put into making it just be like him. I mean, it might not look like him visually, but the moves, the way he moves his lips, the way he looks at the camera, it's all, I don't know, I've never seen anything like it, really. You know, it's like...
I thought you were in love with Mr. Doors.
That is pretty good too, but some would say, oh, well, it's just somebody doing an impersonation or a mime or a...
I mean, that's all you can do. The person is dead.
Right.
You can't bring them back to life to be themselves. So if you're performing a version of them, you are pretending. You know what I mean? Like you're just putting it on. Like totally. That's the only option you have.
Even like Rami Malek said in the extras, like I can't be Freddie Mercury. I can just take bits of him and bits of things that I've noticed, and hopefully the essence of him appears. And to me, it did.
I agree.
Like I felt like it was Freddie Mercury, and he was into it, and so I think he was really good. Like at the end, I was like, I'm going to clap.
I'm in. I'm in. He's good.
So Brian May is played by Gwilym Lee, a Welsh actor, I believe. I also thought he was very good. There's like a lot of emotion between him and Freddy, but it's very, the way it's played, it's very mannish, where you don't really show it.
Yeah.
But you can see, like, there are times where Freddie Mercury's saying something or announcing something to the band, and you can see exactly what's happening in Brian May's head. He's like, oh no, this is the end of Queen, possibly, and, like, I don't want my friend to go away like that. You can see it all happening. And when he's doing the performances, again, some will say, oh, just mimicking Brian May, and you can say that.
Yeah, but Brian May was right there, so who am I to judge? Again, I'm going to repeat it. If the guy you're portraying is right there,
watching the performance,
and then you finish and he gives you a thumbs up, I'm like, I have nothing. I can't judge that. I'm not him.
I mean, if Brian May goes, yes, that passes for me being
exactly.
Yeah. Who are you to say?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So Peter Beale plays Roger Taylor.
It's not Peter Beale. Peter Beale is a character from EastEnders, the British soap opera that we watch. And the young man who plays
Ben Hardy.
Is that his name?
Yeah.
He was also the guy with the wings on the X-Men. Maybe.
He was. But we do know him from the soap opera. And he was in it for a couple of years, I think.
Yeah.
So he's always Peter Beale to us. But I think he did an excellent job of Roger Taylor.
Yeah,
I think he
good.
was better in this than he was in the X-Men.
Oh, definitely. Well, the part was better.
Yeah. And Roger Taylor had in this movie anyway, had a big dislike for Freddy's assistant, let's say.
Yeah, Paul whatever his
And you
name
could
was.
totally see it. Like, it was seething when he was in the room. He's like, kind of like, why is that fucker over there?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, we're here.
And
Queen.
if it's portrayed correctly, he was right to have that feeling. We don't know. I'm not there, but...
So again, Peter Beale, Ben Hardy, excellent as Roger Taylor.
Good work.
And then the fourth member of Queen, Joseph Mazzello, plays John Deacon. Again, when you watch that Live Aid performance and look at that guy, it'd be hard to tell that that's not the guy.
Exactly.
It's so good. Like, it's a mixture of everything, though. It's a mixture of the wig he's wearing, him doing those movements exactly right, and the
way he kind of caresses his guitar, his bass, he's just in it. Like,
kind of bounces up and down a little bit.
Very 80s style.
But he doesn't have a ton of like dialogue in the movie, really. But I was reading, he's the quiet member of the band anyway. In real life, they were saying he doesn't speak unless he really has to.
Right.
So I think they portrayed that well. And that it's really heartbreaking, the scene where Freddy is like pissed off with them, or he wants to break free. You know what I'm saying?
I want to break free
from the band and go and do a solo, go and be a solo act, and they're not into that. And when Freddy gives them all a dressing down, basically. But when he comes to him and he's like, I can't think of anything for you. Like
you have no personality.
You have nothing. Like, and he's like, well, I did train to be an electrical engineer. And he's like, perfect.
Because he's making fun of their life. Like one was going to be a dentist, one's going to be an astrophysicist, and then him being an electrical engineer.
And without him,
they would be that.
You'd be that. And when he goes electrical engineer, he goes, perfect. Like as though that is like the shit.
You're making my point for me.
But that was like, there was some good scenes like that. I really liked it.
Yeah.
Whether they're true or not, I don't know. But
that's the thing about biopics from Hollywood. If you want the true truth, then you have to ask the person who lived the life, right?
Yep.
Watch a documentary where they were either involved or someone who knew them or loved them was involved and approves. Even then, you're never really going to know unless you live the life. So I think when people want to pick it apart, if it's going to be so completely historically inaccurate that it bothers you, don't watch it. Because there's going to be shit. If you're doing a time movie, like an era movie, and it's set in the
period
70s.
Piece.
Yes, a period piece. Period piece can be anywhere. It could be 2815. You know what I mean? If it's not now, it's a period piece. So if it's going to bother you that... What was one of the... you're going to read them later. But yeah, the little details where it might not match up with the timeline they're trying to sell to us, what they're doing is condensing a very large story of these very people with long lives, pretty long lives, except for Freddie, sadly, but a big history with their band and all the other things swirling around. They have to condense it, construct a story out of it, make it entertaining, and put it into a, 2 hours?
2 hours and 14 minutes.
Right. They can't do a 20-hour movie, even though you and I would probably like that. Most people would not. So you have to allow the compromise with this artistic license. And if you think it's a lie, then don't watch Hollywood movies that are, quote unquote, based on a true story.
And made for entertainment value, not for factual accuracy.
Yeah, I mean, it can turn you on to something. Like, it made you and I go do a little bit more research. It might make me want to listen to all their albums instead of just the one songs that stand out to me. And then watch a little more video footage. I'd never seen the Live Aid footage. We watched that today, and it broadens what you actually know about the real person or the real moment. You know, if you're too lazy, then don't bitch about the movie. Just pretend it's real.
What was funny is I came up and we watched the whole Queen Live Aid performance, which is about 25 minutes. And then we watched Madonna at Live Aid. And then we watched U2 at Live Aid. Yeah. And then we watched Spandau Ballet at Live Aid. I mean, we got into this Live Aid.
Yeah.
But and then I was looking, and there's some awesome 80s. The 80s is awesome.
Debatable. That's highly debatable, sir.
All right, Lucy Boyton plays Mary Austin. And Mary is Freddie's, what did he call her? His one love? Or his...
Yeah, his true love.
True love.
He's, I think, if it's portrayed accurately, I don't know, that he felt the kind of love that we all really want. Not for sex and screwing and lust and like, hold my hand while I'm vomiting or hold my hand while I'm sick, but the kind of person who looks you straight in the eye and just is like, I get you. And I don't judge you. I accept you for who you are 100%. There is nothing of you that I don't accept. And I'm rooting for you. That, I think, is what they seem to have, at least as portrayed in the movie.
And in real life, he did propose to her. And they were going to get married. But then he went on tour. And he
came to
some flings with men. And then came back, and that's true that he did tell her that, he told her he was bisexual, and she said, I don't think you are, you're gay.
Does she do open, honest interviews about him?
Yeah, she does, yeah.
As much
a
as we know,
lot of interviews about him.
She's pretty, that's good. Because that's how you can find out more. But then again, you're only listening to the one person's view as well. So always remember, unless you're that person, you don't know. You never know what was ever going through someone's head.
But Lucy Boyton, who plays Mary in this movie, she's the main girl from Sing Street, which is another excellent musical movie. And she was really good in that. And I think she was good in this too.
Yeah, the movie was good.
When she came to see him in the Barcelona where it was raining, that scene's really sad.
Oh, it was really sad.
Because she's just literally come all the way to Spain to check on him, because she can't get in touch with him.
He wasn't in Spain. He was in Switzerland.
Or
Germany.
I thought it said Barcelona.
I don't think so. Munich, I thought it said.
Well, wherever he was
maybe in real life she went to a different place.
Maybe I read that he was in Barcelona. Maybe they've changed it in the movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Aidan Gillen, who you know from Game of Thrones, Littlefinger, plays John Reed. What do you think of...
Wasn't that other guy from Game of Thrones as well? The guy who played Miami? Because we've seen him before, too.
Tom Hollander. I don't think he's from Game of Thrones. Aidan Gillen is from Game of Thrones and also from Sing Street. If you remember, he was the father. So there's the link between Lucy Boyton and him. What do you think of Aidan?
That was good. I mean, it's brief. It could be anybody. I'm not taking away from it.
It's a big scene with him, though. With him and Fred.
Yeah.
In the car.
Yeah, but still.
Yeah.
He, and this isn't taking away from him, I'm just saying, his personality and his performance doesn't impact that necessarily.
Tom Hollander plays Jim Beach, Miami Beach. He's like the, what is he, a manager? Well.
Lawyer,
yeah. You don't see him much. But.
No, but he supports them, it seems to me.
Yeah,
he's in their corner.
A piece of truth about this movie is, at the day of Live Aid, he did sneak into the tent and push the volume dials up further. So in the whole Live Aid day, Queen's performance was louder than everybody else's. It got turned down after it.
Nice.
So he kind of went in and gave them a bit of punch, just push the dials up a little bit. And then finally, Mike Myers plays Ray Foster. Now, this Ray Foster character does not exist in real life. He's kind of an amalgamation of a couple of different record executives I was reading.
People who rejected the idea of Bohemian Rhapsody.
Right. But they had to have like a kind of a movie villain to pin it on, kind of. Oh, he's the guy who...
And because... Wayne's World.
And there is a bit of a tie around to Wayne. Obviously, Wayne's World used the song Bohemian Rhapsody.
Of course.
And Mike Myers is this record executive, and he even has this little line that kind of references Wayne's World. So it's fun in that way. I wouldn't have recognized him if I didn't know it was him.
I instantly knew who he was. I'm like, why are you telling me this? He just looks like himself, but with weird glued-on hair.
Glued-on stuff,
yeah.
So finally, directed by Bryan Singer and Dexter Fletcher. We mentioned that earlier.
Yeah.
I think it's well directed. I think it's got that quirky kind of British movie kind of feel to it.
Expand on that.
That's how it feels to me, like a British film.
What does that mean?
I don't know. Some British films have this kind of like overly kind of sentimental and a bit sappy.
You mean like Love Actually?
Definitely like that one. Sing Street is another one, even though that's Irish, I believe. But this one does have that overall feel.
A little bit, yeah.
Even though Bryan Singer's not British, but Dexter Fletcher is, so I don't know what the deal is. But anyway, talking of the director, it's hard to talk about it because apparently the studio, as we watched all the extras for this movie, the directors don't exist. We watched a whole documentary thing about this movie, and there are no directors. There are no directors in sight. There are no directors interviewed.
It is really funny.
It's like they disappeared and evaporated. Everybody else talks, even the producer.
No one even comments about Brian really wants me to do this or really wanted us to do that. Like, no one even says...
No, nothing.
Where usually you'd say, if it's Steven Spielberg, Steven really wanted us to all get to know each other or do this or that. Nope, not even a comment.
No, it's like these two, if you didn't see directed by Bryan Singer on the screen at the beginning, you wouldn't have any idea that
True.
There was anybody involved.
It was a bit weird.
Yeah, it was a bit weird.
But I understand. They want to avoid controversy.
Yeah, there's controversy. But Dexter Fletcher has no controversy.
No, but drawing attention to him
being a replacement, yeah.
I think unfortunate.
I actually like Dexter Fletcher quite a lot. He's from Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels, and he's done movies. He's doing a film much like this one called Rocket Man about Elton John this year. So
with the Kingsman, isn't he Elton John?
Yeah, the guy from Kingsman.
Yeah.
Yes, is Elton John. True.
Elgin, whatever his name is.
In fact, we saw the trailer for it, didn't we?
Yep.
And it felt a lot like this movie, if you think about it. It had that kind of feel of this movie.
A little bit fantasy.
Yeah, and very upbeat, So extras on the Blu-ray of Bohemian Rhapsody, you get Rami Malek becoming Freddie, the look and sound of Queen, and recreating Live Aid. The recreating Live Aid is about 20 minutes long. It's really good. Because the way they recreated it with all the CGI people, they're not really CGI people, they are real people, and they're captured, and then they're overlaid over a CG, like a computer-generated mask, and then they're kind of duplicated really into hundreds of thousands of people. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And did you think it looked convincing watching it?
Not always.
It looked, when the camera flies in,
looked a bit like a video game.
It looks like a video game.
Yeah.
But then when the camera flies in and then turns around and it looks at Freddie at the piano and looks back at the crowd, I thought it looked convincing from
that. Looked much better, yeah.
It shows you that. There's also, and this is one thing I said to you, if I had a criticism, the Live Aid thing at the end, they missed some of the songs out. And it wasn't the full, and I understand that you don't want your movie to be 2.5 hours and have a 25-minute performance at the end. But if you're interested in seeing the complete live performance, they did do it for the movie, and it is a separate extra here on the Blu-ray. So you can watch the whole 25 minutes. There's just one song cut out, basically. And which song was it? It was Crazy Little Thing Called Love. And Freddie plays the guitar. So you can actually see that. It's not inserted into the movie, it's just a separate thing. But it is there on the disc. So I highly recommend this. What do you think about, like, I mean, we haven't seen all the best. We're going to see another one next week, A Star Is Born. But as far as, like, looking at best pictures from previous years, do you think this goes up there with the best picture?
I think so.
Super high quality? I think
it is high quality, yes. And it does what it says on the tin to me. It's telling me, like I said, a slice of the life, and it's well done, well made, well performed.
And it might not be 100% accurate, but
I mean, neither was Pearl Harbor or Titanic, right? And they got all that. I mean, they were really not accurate.
Hold on. Are you telling me that Jack and Rose weren't real?
I'm telling you that Titanic never sank. No. I'm just saying, like, you know, we can't get that snooty about it because,
do you know that
probably
the P&O, you know, the big P&O ferries or whatever they call them? They do the big cruise liners that go in the, you know, you go on holiday on a big cruise liner. They're making a exact replica of the Titanic for a cruise liner at the moment.
That seems like a bad idea.
Apparently this one's not going to sink, but if
apparently neither was the first one.
This one's an exact replica of the Titanic, and
I bet it isn't exact.
You'll be able to go on holiday.
They're going to have internet.
I'm
and
sure it'll have better
electricity.
Wi-Fi, yeah,
or whatever. No, they had electricity, but yeah, it's not going to be exact.
If you wanted to live on the Titanic and see, you know, it's like the one that James Cameron did for the movie. It's going to be period accurate as far as the way it looks. I thought that was cool.
Did you want to take a cruise?
No.
You don't like the water?
No, I'd be terrified.
I'm not laughing at your fear. I'm just thinking that you're so opposite of me. I'd take a cruise, but I want to take not like a fancy touristy cruise. I want to take a cruise where it's just a bunch of people like me who don't really care about, I don't know, like doing group activities or like yoga on the whatever. Just a bunch of rooms. Kind of like a 2-star hotel. Like a Subway would be fine for the food. Just a Subway where you could get a sandwich every day. Maybe a pizza joint on the ship. Nice. And a salad bar, right? And then everything else is just do whatever you want. You've given us your $700 or your $1,000. We're going to stop at these towns. You can do whatever you want. Get back on the ship, and then we'll take you home. I mean, I don't like the big da-da-da-da of it all. You know what I mean? I just want to...
You think on this,
I like being on boats, but not a cruise ship.
Do you think on this Titanic ship, like about, 7 days into the cruise, it's middle of the night, 3 o'clock in the morning?
No, I don't.
Iceberg dead ahead, and the ringing, and ding, 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 and then you all shit yourselves.
Well, they might do a reenactment, like when you go to those old Western towns. They will do like a reenactment of a shootout in the street or something.
I feel like they would probably do a reenactment, get you all to the lifeboats and put the things on you.
I don't think they'll go that far. That's too much of a pain.
Oh, you're paying big money for this thing.
Also, would they really want to remind you?
Yes.
That the other
They have the little brass band playing.
I feel like this whole entire thing is a bad idea. Let's just not do the Titanic reenactment.
They're actually doing it. All right, so IMDb reviews for this movie. Funnily, right, I started last week. I said I'll do look at the IMDb reviews. I do every week. For this movie's positively rated. There's like loads of 10 out of 10s. People love this movie. So I had to actually sort it by the bad ones. And there isn't a ton of bad ones. And it's mostly people who are like Queen archivists. Those kind of people, like who are like, in 1977... This is my Queen archivist voice.
Okay.
In 1977, Brian May's training shoes were Adidas Stan Smith and not the ones shown in the movie.
Okay.
That ruined the whole movie for them.
Was that comment you just made even historically accurate? Could someone be nitpicking what you're saying
Probably.
to nitpick what other people say?
I'm just reading these IMDb reviews.
Okay, read a couple of the archivist people.
This film sucks. It's poorly made. It's got cliches all over it.
Oh, no kidding.
The writing is lackluster, unemotional, rushed. The story is a great one, about a great band. But this was made like it was a high school project.
What? What are you talking about?
How in the world does this film win Best Drama at the Golden Globes, let alone even qualify for it? It's nothing more than a propaganda film that whitewashes the truth about the band and the great musicianship of Mercury. There's a reason why Sacha Baron Cohen didn't want to do this role. Because it doesn't feature Freddie Mercury. The film has no story. It's not even a movie.
What's he even talking about? What is he even saying? Propaganda?
What a dreadful piece of muck. What a dreadful piece of muck. This film will go straight to DVD/streaming once the word gets out. If you love Lifetime Channel and its dull, contrived footage, this movie is for you. I'd save your money and watch real-life clips of Freddie Mercury and not destroy his legacy and your memories of his life by watching this awful film. That's it. They're pretty much the bad reviews for this movie.
What is it that I just don't get it? What motivates these people? I mean, I'll say whatever I think, so it's fair that someone has an opinion. But how can you be so emotionally attached to this kind of thing? I just don't get it. I don't get it.
I'm glad that those people go and write that stuff every week because it always gives me some fun. You know? Go and write your 1-star review and you might get featured on this show. All right, so in conclusion, Bohemian Rhapsody, I loved it. I would give it Best Picture, even though I've not seen all the other pictures. Until next week when I see A Star Is Born, and probably like that too. You never know.
Oh, you'll like it.
You never know. So, are you recommending this one? Yes, you are.
I mean, it depends, doesn't it?
Would you recommend it to your mother?
Yes. She would like it, and yes, she would.
Would she be clapping her hands off time?
Well, yes. She would not be aware of Queen music, I don't believe. You don't think? I don't think so.
You don't think your brother was probably into Queen growing up?
I don't think he was. I mean, he's the one that gave me my first AC/DC when I was in junior high.
Yeah, that's why I think he might have liked Queen.
He had like Toto and Kansas. So I don't know. I don't know for sure. I'd have to ask him. He's not dead or anything. He's just old.
I'm sure your mother's...
He's 10 years older than me, so he's of that generation.
I'm sure she's heard Bohemian Rhapsody in her life.
Probably, but knowing my mother, she would have just been like, turn that down. What that shit you're listening to?
So you would recommend this to her?
I would recommend it to her because she would fall in love with him. And that his struggle to, and my mother's a huge champion.
Oh, she loves the Hunger Games.
She loves, she does not like people telling you what to do. She does not like people deciding how you should be or oppression of any kind.
Rising up. She likes that.
She likes rising up, and she likes people to just be allowed to be who they are. So that would definitely, I wouldn't tell her his life. I would just say, here's this movie, watch it, and then tell her. Right. If she reads at the end, that'll tell her that he died, but still. So I don't know. I mean, it's just a good, solid, weekend movie to watch, isn't it? If you're interested in
And if you like the band Queen and their music, it's even more of a bonus because you get to hear a lot of their music. Yeah,
but then, like you said, there's going to be the picky people and...
I mean, you're listening to Queen when you're listening to the performances. So it's not like you're listening to...
Just close your eyes.
Yeah. But you are listening to Queen. The same Queen you've been listening to for years. It's just in a movie. So, next week, next week is actually Oscars weekend. And we'll be looking at A Star Is Born, another Best Picture nominee. A Star Is Born. Do you like A Star Is Born? Do you like the Julie Garland version?
I've never seen any of the versions, I don't believe. Ooh. If I did see the Barbra Streisand, I don't remember it fully, so...
Oh. So it's not spoiled for you, then?
Of course it's spoiled. I know what it's about. I've seen the trailer. The trailer to me...
No, the trailer doesn't spoil most of the spoily parts.
What do you mean?
I'm not going to say.
You haven't seen it.
Oh, I mean, I've seen the other two.
I know, but I thought this one was different. But
I don't know if it's different or not.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, it's a story about somebody who's not famous, picked up by somebody who is famous. They kind of fall in love, have sex. He tries to tutor her. Something goes wrong where someone wants to rip them apart because she's really famous. It's not like, it's very easy. This is the trailer telling me this. And then somebody tries to get in between him, and then she gets super famous, and he's having a hard time. I mean,
there's some really great music.
Story. This isn't a new story. So, I don't know. I'm neutral. I'm not that interested in it. I never really get that interested in anything that becomes like, oh, you've got to see this movie.
I'm actually very interested because
you're a sheep.
I like the music that I've heard from it so far.
You don't like country music?
There's a house mix of the main song that is on the chill all the time.
Of what is essentially a country song.
Yes.
Yeah, so you don't like the music. You'll be like, ugh. Or it'll convert you.
No, I might like the music as in the context of the movie. You know what I'm saying?
Fair.
So, we'll look at A Star Is Born next week. Movie recommendations. I am going with Oliver Stone's The Doors. It's one of my favourite biopics. I love The Doors also. I like The Doors. I like The Queen. I like what else do I like? Oasis.
Oasis is your favorite, right? Who's higher, Oasis or Queen?
I think Queen, probably.
How about the Beatles? Do they squeeze in there anywhere?
No, but the Beatles, I do like some of the Beatles. I'm not Beatles mad like some people are. I think if you're British, you're supposed to love the Beatles, right?
If someone said, I'm going to strand you on a desert island, and you get the full collection of one band.
I'd have Queen, yeah, definitely.
No, you didn't let me finish.
They have a lot of albums.
You have no way to listen to it, but you can take all the albums with you.
Oh. Well, I'd take Queen, because Queen have about 18 albums. I could probably fashion a boat out of the things.
There you go. Or just look at the titles and replay them in your head over and over. So you'd take Queen. Interesting.
Yeah. And I'd fashion a weird canoe out of the albums.
Or maybe a hut.
Yeah, maybe.
Or eat them. Or use them as weapons. See, there's lots of options here with these. Queen will save your life.
Desert Island Discs. All right, so The Doors is Oliver Stone's biopic of The Doors. It's not in the spirit of this Bohemian Rhapsody. It's very dark. It's very...
Did anyone from The Doors approve?
Yes. Ray Manzarek, before he died, did. But it really focuses a lot on Jim's drug taking. And that's not outside of the truth, though, because he was really into drugs. And it does, show his death. And it's pretty hardcore.
Has there ever been a Jimi Hendrix movie?
Not that I know of. I'm sure there is. But
or Janis Joplin? Maybe like TV movies or something,
yeah.
But...
A Jimi Hendrix actual, like The Doors or Bohemian Rhapsody, Jimi Hendrix one would surely be interesting, right? Unless he was really boring. I don't know. You know what I mean?
All these people died at a young age. All of them.
Didn't you kill Ozzy Osbourne last week? You told me.
I thought he was dead.
Yes.
I didn't kill him. I don't know where he is. So I can't kill him.
Sometimes my wife kills people off. I'll go.
I'm convinced they're dead.
Yeah, you're convinced that and I'm like, oh, come on, Ozzy Osbourne's dead, and I'm looking it up.
It was the headline on my newsfeed. Yeah. And I am a sheep. I will follow, and believe everything I read.
And I will tell you that Ozzy is still alive.
It just looked so convincing. It had a quote from Sharon and everything.
Yeah.
I didn't read the whole story, so maybe I should have read the whole story. But,
yeah, but before you went, I was like, oh shit, I love Ozzy.
And he's not well. He'd gone to the hospital.
He had pneumonia.
Here's the problem with those headlines for those people who put out those headlines. A lot of us will read the headline and we don't click it, so you're not really getting any benefit.
And I often say that to you. I'll say, so what did the story say? And you say, I don't know, I just read the headline. And I'm like, that's not the news.
If they can't squeeze it all in the headline, then what is the point of the story?
But anyway, you'd killed 2 people in one day, actually.
I did.
Who was the other one?
I forgot.
Oh, it was somebody Perry.
Was it?
The guitarist from Aerosmith.
Correct. Joe Perry.
You'd killed him and Ozzy Osbourne in the same headline.
In the same sitting.
Yep. I was like, damn, what a terrible day for rock. And then, actually, neither.
Luckily, both of them are alive and well.
Luckily. All right, so my other second one is Sing Street, which I think not a ton of people have seen. I think it's a very small movie that kind of breezed past. It's actually on Netflix, I checked. So, Sing Street. You should watch that. And yours are?
Mine are, I took the easy way out this time because it's two things I've been thinking about watching. One I watch every day, which is Bob's Burgers. That's a TV show.
You don't think about watching that. You just watch it all the time.
I do. It's my soundtrack of my life. And, with new episodes, I have to watch them like 20 times before they start sinking in. I don't know what it is. I've tried. Last night I even thought, nope, I'm going to watch something else. And then it's almost like my mind, there's a magnet there and I have to go to it because whoever writes it and the voice of people and the animation, it's like they've somehow figured out how to hypnotize me because I'm just like locked in, and I laugh. I could have seen an episode and this. I've probably watched some of them 100 times because I will let a whole season run and then just start it again in the same day. Like if I'm doing something in the kitchen over and over and over. They're only like 20 minutes long. So in the course of a day, you can watch an entire season multiple times.
That's true.
And every time it plays, that one starts, I hear the first line, and I'm already laughing. And then I can see in my mind, even if I'm not looking at it, exactly what's going on. So I say watch Bob's Burgers. You probably won't enjoy it as much as I do. But it's a fun show. And my other one is the one I've been really wanting to start again is all of Star Trek.
Including the new Star Trek that you haven't even seen yet.
Haven't seen it, and, but yeah, I like to start from the beginning. So I have to start. I have to finish Enterprise, which I haven't finished. I've got through a couple of seasons of it for the third time. So now I need to finish that off and then move forward and then I just feel like it would be a good, when does Discovery happen? Is it between two?
I have no idea.
Okay, I have to look. Because if it comes after Enterprise and before the original, or right after the original.
Oh, the new one. Discovery.
Yeah, Discovery. Is it right after original Star Trek and before Next Generation? If so, then I would watch them in that order, just out of curiosity to see how it all kind of fits together. If you don't know, I'm the Star Trek person in the family. He is the Star Wars person. And we can still be happily married. Yeah. It's like having...
crossing the streams.
Yeah, it's like having a Democrat and a Republican in the house. Neither of us are any of those things. But we do have Star Trek, Star Wars on our side. Opinions. So those are my recommendations. Just watch anything of Star Trek. It's just a fascinating... I don't know who's all written it all over the years and the decades. I mean, it's been going on since the 1960s. I just find it really fascinating. I love spacey stuff and futuristic stuff. So
I'm trying to figure out by looking at Wikipedia about Star Trek Discovery.
Oh, God, you're going to be reading that for days. It's too long. I've tried.
Where it actually fits in the Star Trek timeline.
I need, really quick timelines, like bullet list.
Oh, it's chronology. Mm-hmm. It's preceded by Star Trek Enterprise.
Okay. Oh, so Enterprise, and then the original. I mean, Enterprise and then Discovery and then the original?
Yes.
Interesting.
So that's how you have to watch it.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I would. I will.
So you'll watch Enterprise, which is who's in Enterprise? That's Quantum Leap
Archer
guy.
Captain Archer. Yes, Captain. Yes.
Yeah. So watch that, then this new one, and then the original series.
Right. Interesting. Yeah. Oh, now I'm talking about it. I really want to do it. What I usually need is a sick day when I'm actually sick. And I don't want to get off the couch or out of bed.
You watched the one by the Simpsons creator when you were sick last time.
And one day I was just, something hit me hard and I just was laying on the couch. I didn't even want to pick up the remote.
What was that called?
Fantasia or something?
Yeah, the one that's on Netflix is by Matt Groening.
It was fun.
Yeah.
It could have been because I was deliriously sick, but it was really fun. I watched the entire thing.
You did?
I mean, I fell asleep over a couple of episodes and then I'd have to wake up and then go back and start again, but...
All right, so that's that. A Scully stuff.
That's that.
I've been playing more Apex Legends, the free game by EA. You definitely should play it. Survival Battle Royale. It's really fun. It's free. You don't have to pay. You can play it on any console or the PC. What have you got to lose? I definitely recommend it. And the other big game that came out this week is Crackdown 3 on the PC and the Xbox. I was a big fan of Crackdown, right? The original.
Always, yeah.
Not the second one so much, but the original, I loved it. Do you remember me like obsessed trying to find all those orbs?
Absolutely. You had me looking on the internet and reading the map for you.
Actually did find them all, didn't we? We got every one of them, all 500 or whatever it was. Now this game, Crackdown 3, is a lot like Crackdown 1. I'm finding it's, honestly, that it's quite bland.
Oh.
And you know why? Because it's almost like the same game as Crackdown 1 that you played, 10 years ago maybe? But, like, nothing has been kind of updated. Like, it might look better because it's, like, high resolution. But the game itself is exactly the same. So there's not really any surprises. But what I do like about it is finding the orbs. If the whole game had no enemies, and just a city, and you, and orbs, I'd actually play that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just climb over the buildings and find all the orbs. The enemies are kind of like a pain in the ass, like in between you finding the orbs, I find. The game itself is not super... I mean, it's dated. That's the only way to say it. It feels like an Xbox 360 game. If you liked Crackdown originally, you will have some nostalgic feelings when you start playing it. But after like maybe 3 hours yesterday, I was like, you know what? I'm not fully done. I feel like I want to go back and do some more, but it's not pulling me like other games do. It's not like, oh, I really have to play some more Call of Duty when I finish this podcast. You know?
Yeah.
So, I don't know why it was in development for so long. You know, the best thing about it is you can play this game for free pretty much. Crackdown 3 is on Microsoft's Game Pass service. Now, I'll let you into a little secret here. If you're a PC user and you go to the Microsoft Store on the PC and you type in Game Pass, everybody with a PC gets a 14-day free trial. You just click it. You don't even have to enter a credit card or anything. It gives you 14 days of Game Pass. You can immediately download Crackdown 3 and play it for 14 days. And the campaign's about 5 or 6 hours long, so 14 days is easily enough time for you to have your fill of Crackdown 3. So, if you want to play it for free, that's the way to do it. And if you own an Xbox, you can do exactly the same thing. If you don't own Game Pass, you get a 14-day trial. So, that's what I did. I didn't pay for it. I got a little trial, and within 14 days, I will have played it. So, there's your little secret. So, Sid Talk, what's for dinner?
Tonight, we're going to have, I think, either beans and eggs, which is always good.
I like fake fish fingers.
And fake fish fingers for the crunchy element. Fake fish fingers, as in we're vegetarian, therefore we don't actually eat fish, but we have found a brand of, we call them fish sticks in America. You call them fish fingers. Fish don't have fingers, but whatever. And if you have fingers that taste like fish,
fish don't have sticks either.
That sounds like a problem. No, but they're sticks made out of fish. They're not fingers made out of fish.
I'm thinking of these little fish with sticks in the little paws or whatever they're called.
I'm sure somebody's used a fish stick with a fin on it at some point for advertising. But so we found a brand called Quorn, Quorn, and they are, how would you describe them?
I like to put malt vinegar on them.
Right, but when you first ate it, were you like, holy shit, this can't be fake? Yeah, I was like, this tastes...
Did somebody actually slip a real fish finger in this box? Because that's what it tastes like.
It's so good. It's like, well, they're like cheap fish fingers.
Funny thing is, when I did eat meat, like years and years and years ago, I didn't really like fish, but I really liked fish fingers. So it was like the only fish I really ate. So it was great to find is it vegan or just vegetarian?
Just vegetarian.
It's great that there's something that tastes like a fish finger.
Yeah. And so we'll make that, and sounds like a weird combination, but are those and beans maybe, if you don't want an egg to go with it. But any of those combination of things.
I want French fries with it.
Don't have any French fries. You are out of luck.
Steak chips.
Don't have any steak chips. I'm not going to the store, so we have what we have.
Fish finger sandwich then.
So then tomorrow we should have fish fingers and fries, and today we should have beans and eggs.
All right.
This is how it works in our house. We work it out. And I'm cooking it, so whatever I cook is what he will eat.
And then what?
And then what?
And then what?
Oh, that's my advice? It's not advice. I just hear a lot of people say, we're we live in America. And of course, right now, if you're listening to this in 10 years, it's the year 2019. And there is a little thing called, or a little issue about building a wall across the border between the United States and Mexico. You might have heard of it.
A fence, I believe it is now, right?
A fence, a wall, a barrier of some kind. And I get it. There are lots of reasons people think it's necessary and lots of reasons people think it isn't. I don't have a strong position either way. That's the truth. And I have very strong opinions about a lot of things. This one is a complex issue. It cannot be solved by a simple solution. It just doesn't work that way. But I just let the world work it out. So I say to people, if you don't build any barrier whatsoever, and because you're just so much hating the idea and hating this president, then what? So let's say it's absolutely knocked off the books forever and ever. It is illegal to build a wall or a barrier between ourselves and another country. The only two countries, of course, for us would be Canada and Mexico. And the government says we're never building a wall. And you're like, yay! Then what? How do you decide? How do you see us solving the problems that the wall is pretending to solve? What's after that? What do you decide? Or is it just you don't like the idea, and if you don't do it, then that's all you care about? If you are a fervent defender of the wall or a barrier of some kind, and it gets built, then what? Does that solve the problem of your children potentially becoming heroin addicts in the future, or wrecking their cars, or your parents dying of Alzheimer's, or you losing your job because some big corporation decides to downsize? Is it all related to that wall? What happens after they do this symbolic thing to solve a problem you think you have? Because it's really just smoke and mirrors. All the problems of your life are not solved with one solution. But I feel like a lot of people like to, it's like a trick, like a magician trick, right? Look over here, while I'm doing this thing over here, And that's all it really is. Because if you say, fine, we're going to build a wall and let's forward ourselves 10 years in the future. It's the last day, the ribbon cutting on the wall. Ta-da, it's here. Now what? Now how do you solve the problem of kids in America who, whatever the problem is, how do you solve the problem of poor people in different towns not having clean water? How do you do any of those things matter to you right now? Or just the idea of this one thing? Or whatever the problem is that you want somebody to give a quick fix to, then what? What are you gonna do next? That's it.
That's it. Also, tell them about your car episode.
Oh, my car episode. Oh.
I'm in love with my car.
I'm in love with my car. I am in love with I love my car. It's a little green Ford Fiesta, one of those that you see driving around. Probably not you, because you're probably not in my same town. But I drove further north. I'm sure they have them in other towns. Yes, I drove further north this week to where my mother lives, which is about 200 miles, just under 200 miles north of here. It's like they have a whole other climate there. I got to about the 100-mile mark, and all of the sudden, there was ice everywhere. And it was cold, and it was windy, and there was snow.
It's snowing here now.
Yeah, I mean, I've lived in Missouri 99% of my whole entire life, so I get it. It's winter. However, get to my mother's, and she lives up what could be described as about a 30-degree driveway that's about, I don't know, 300 yards long, maybe 2 football fields long, I don't know, from the highway to where she is. And so I get it's covered with ice pretty much, with a little bit of gravel poking through. So I'm like, I can get up there. Her house is directly in front of me. She had already told me, pull into the garage. We've left the door open. So I'm like, okay. So I have to be very good aim here, because the garage is off to the side. So if I'm heading up, I can't go too fast. I can't gun it, right? Because then I get up to the top. If it's icy, I'm just going to slide into their house. So that's bad. If I'm not going fast enough, I'm not going to make it. I wasn't going fast enough. I didn't make it. I get about halfway up, and a car just stopped moving, and the little squiggly light came on. It shows the back of your car with the squiggly light.
The squiggly light means ice.
Yeah, I'd never seen that before, and I was like, oh, and then nothing would happen, and I just started sliding backwards. Very slowly, but I could do nothing. My brakes didn't stop me. I couldn't steer because it was solid ice. I get to one spot where I could kind of steer it, but not really. And all of a sudden I feel this like boonk. Felt like a tiny little thunk. And what my mother has on either side of our driveway are these columns made out of brick with a big iron gate. No, she's not in a gated community or anything, but there's like to where their house is. It's surrounded by woods. And then right where there's a break in the trees, they've put up a thing where there's a fence because they live right on the highway and, But they keep the gate open all the time, so I'd already passed through that. And this was the side of my car hit the brick. And I started to slide right along it. And then I got my brake to work because I hit a little patch of cement. I looked over to my passenger side, and it was on the passenger side. Looked over to where my mirror was. The brick column was about 1.5 inches from my mirror, which would have, if I had slid back that much further and farther, it would have just ripped it right off. So luckily, my mom's man, he's like my stepfather, but they're not married because she refuses. And yeah, she's 77, he's 84. Figure it out. His granddaughter comes down with a big bag of salt. She kind of slides down the hill. I'm thinking she's going to fall. I can't take my foot off the brake now because this is it. I take the foot off the brake. I will completely slide across that thing on my door, knock off the mirror, the whole bit. So she comes down with her little flashlight, sliding. She gets some salt up under my wheels, and I kind of rock it, get it up. And then eventually she talks me back down the whole driveway, backing up, sliding occasionally into a little pocket, there's a little driveway at the bottom to another place. And I just parked it on a solid sheet of ice. And then we had to walk on the ice up to the house. And then I put in a insurance claim, and they've already sent me a check.
Very quick.
It won't cover it, but it will do part of it.
All right, so
be careful of the ice, people.
I'm in love with
because
my
you know
car.
what? In the past, I would have been like, "Oh no, my car," and I would have been almost like too wrapped up in it. I would have cared too much. But guess where I had just come from? I had just come from one of my friends from high school and his wife house and visiting with him for a couple of hours.
How will they guess this?
She has recently had a very aggressive type of breast cancer, and so she had a double mastectomy, is now going through chemo, has lost all of her hair, and she's still, that day that I went to visit her, she was coming home from work. She was still deciding, I'm going to go to work as long as I possibly can, and when she got home, she was so tired, and then telling me all about it, and like the whole process. And, she got her some wigs, and she wasn't wearing a wig at the time. And I bumped my car, and it just didn't even, register hardly. Because I'm like, just a fucking car door. I had heard so many stories while I was up there. I bet 20 to 30 different stories of people falling, breaking wrists, breaking hips, breaking knees. One lady fell with her baby in her arms. One person slid in, just things that actually mattered. And my car door, not that big a deal. It can be fixed. It'll cost a little bit of money, but it absolutely hurt nobody at all. And so it's not that big a deal.
All right. So you can catch us on ascully.com and sitar.com. You can catch this podcast on the Google Play Store, the RSS feed on ascully.com, iTunes Music Store, the TuneIn Radio. You can use your Amazon devices to listen to it on there. YouTube also. We're on Twitter and Facebook. Email feedback to me at ascully@ascully.com. Don't email Sitar. She is in love with her car and not you.
I'm not in love with my car. And I'm going to say, think for yourself or someone will do it for you.
And she has jumped the gun, so I'm going to say, stay classy. Mr. Frederick Mercury. What's his real name? Farouk?
Farouk. Not Mercury.
No. But you will live on forever.
Should I say my thing again to make you feel better?
You can say it again because you can never jump the gun.
And you should think for yourself because if you don't, someone will do it for you.
I'm in love with my car.